Welcome to the UkeStuff channel. What we've been listening to is the Enya Nova AcousticPlus ukulele. Used to be called Trans Acoustic. They've since changed that with the ukulele. What you're looking at is a concert ukulele made out of polycarbonate with a little bit of carbon fiber mixed in a thin line body style with a slightly arched back, slightly radius fretboard, side sound port, and cutout. Really, quite honestly, you're going to struggle to find anything that matches this in terms of price and features. And then once you add the electronics in, that might change the game for you, if it hasn't already, quite honestly. So let's take a look at the instrument. We'll talk about my subjective issues first, and then we'll talk about the objective pieces of the instrument, and then I'll summarize those all together. I'll try to put a timestamp in the description below in case you want to jump to one part or another. So in terms of cost, these are about $180. Now, for full disclosure, I had been in communication with Enya for my previous review where I was sent an ukulele to destroy. That's in the previous Enya non-AcousticPlus version review where you can see me destroy one of these. But in talking with them, I told them that I'd love to get one of these. They told me that they would be out of the country till after the new year. And I said, well, if you ever get a return that's actually fine, I'd love to buy that too. And they just sent me one when somebody sent one back. So it was an open box. This was not brand new, but it's still very much the instrument that you might get. So I'm very, very thankful to them for that. And I want to make sure that you know that this was sent to me not for a positive review, but it was sent to me not even for a review. I just actually talked about wanting one. So that's very kind of them. So again, about $180, which doesn't make it very expensive, really. You're still getting into, with a similar mold, just about the price point of an outdoor ukulele tenor, their carbon fiber / polycarbonate version. So really, still incredibly old considering you're also getting the case and the bonuses that go with it, plus this AcousticPlus system. So therefore, the value just really exceeds the price. You aren't going to find all these various features on an ukulele at that price point. You're just not. There's no such other thing. The build quality overall is really good. Now, for the record, there's been I've seen 3 reports of fret wear on the frets from strings. A couple people that have been using the original strings, and a couple people, or one person that had changed it to Aquila Reds, which actually outdoor ukulele turns out will not warranty Aquila Reds because they're a little more gritty. But nonetheless, do be forewarned that the first version here may show some fret wear, and if it does, contact Enya. Their customer support has been incredible. So I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. If you're going to see fret wear, I don't see it on any one of the 3 Enyas, other than the Franken Enya that I had to put some fret wear in. I had to send down a fret after gluing it back together. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to see it. So keep that in mind. If you see fret wear, and you'd know it because you'd look and you'd see where the string had been rubbing and rubbed in, let Enya know. But I have complete faith that, number one, they'll make sure that it doesn't happen again, and number 2, that they'll take care of their customers. So I'm not too worried about that. Just keep an eye out for it. The other thing that I'll notice is that I've had some buzzing, even as I was playing, with some of the wiring inside. So if I'm rattling this, you'll hear that, and that's the wiring and the way it's at. Now, I did read one fellow on the internet, Facebook, that said that they just removed this panel, flipped it 180 degrees, tightening those wires, and put it back in, and then no more of that. So that's just, as a company starts building these things, they just have to figure out how to tack the wires so that they stay, and in future models, I think that will be fixed. Also, I had one really weird day where I had the speakers on, and basically how this pickup works is there's an undersaddle pickup that then sends the sound to another company calls it an actuator, sort of a speaker on the back that then vibrates the cavity to give you the idea and the sense of reverb, and in this case also chorus. And Anyway, one day I was holding it and I was playing with my students at school and I tipped it forward and I got a weird buzz sound. But I have not been able to recreate that. I'm getting a very weird sound now with the pickup cranked and tipping it back and forth, but it's still not the kind of like had like a hum. So that's the other thing that I've noticed. And those would be areas in build quality, that they could somehow connect those the wires inside a little more so you didn't get this, and that would be great. And that's it. So, and I don't even, and by the way, that happens with even some of the best ukuleles that come with pickups installed. Like we're talking very, very, very expensive ukuleles. Wiring can still be an issue. So, appearance, again, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. I think most people really think they're cool. They come in different colors if you want. Pink, blue, orange, white, black. I think that covers it. And they're readily available now, either from Enya's own website, enya-music.com here in the US. Not sure what it would be for the UK or other places in the world, or Amazon. We'll have them too. As for playability, very easy to play. And it has actually kind of a narrow nut, we've found out. It's actually smaller than 35 millimeters up here. But what we found out is that, again, that radius fretboard, for some reason, makes it very playable, very approachable, and even people with larger hands have no problems navigating on this fretboard. They really did their homework. They really figured it out. I don't know how many prototypes they had, but this is really a nice design. As I talked about in the 1-minute ukulele review, if you happen to see it, I'm using that on Instagram kind of to hype up the review. The other negative is that they don't have side position markers, and I know I've told them that about the other model too, so hopefully those will show at some point, since the whole thing is painted or coated anyway. You don't see the actual black plastic of the instrument here. Sound quality overall is really good. Just like the acoustic version, I wouldn't say it sounds any different. Yeah, it is not a $1,000 Kamaka, Kanalea, Koaloha instrument. But for a $180 instrument, it is pretty amazing and pretty pleasing, and it punches a lot of sound for that thin body. It's really nice. Talking about playing and sound, I kind of wish that Enya would have put tone control in there, so maybe you could adjust bright and dark. And then also, I wish they would have had a delay with this too. And again, I'm not complaining, and I actually would love to see the instrument offered with that, maybe for a little more money, as an option that you could get delay and tone control. They'd have to rethink their button here a little bit. And actually, on the side, I actually wouldn't mind a tuner. If you're going to have the electronics anyway, it'd be kind of neat to have a tuner there as well. Maybe a very, very small display, but that would be kind of cool too. Again, dreaming. Am I complaining for $180? Or, again, what was shipped to me for nothing, just out of the kindness of their hearts? Not complaining. Just saying, in a future model, that would be kind of cool. So, it's loud. It's definitely loud enough to be heard. I brought another ukulele, another Enya actually, to school, which Enya, my little round, what they label as the Enya X1. I'm trying to remember the designation of it. It's the round one. I bought one of those a couple of years ago, and it's very quiet. I brought it to school, and actually I couldn't even hear myself playing over my singing and my students singing. This one has no problem, just acoustically, the way that it is. And the tone is bright but balanced. So very much, pretty much the same exactly as the acoustic version. The only difference is you can add some reverb and chorus, and when you play by yourself, you can hear it. When you play singing and with a group, you're not going to hear it. And if you want to hear it, then that's what this output jack is for, because then it will send that same reverb or that same chorus out to your amplifier and then out to your speakers. So I really like it. It's really well done. It's neat, and we'll talk a little more about that at the end of the review summary. Now let's talk specifics, okay? Objective versus subjective. It is a concert scale ukulele, 15.75 inches from the saddle to the nut, which is a little bit longer than some concerts. 18 frets, no side marker dots. The body style is a double bout with a cutout. The soundboard and body and everything is made of polycarbonate with a little bit of carbon fiber mixed in. And that also includes the back and the sides, the fretboard, and the bridge, and the saddle, and the nut. It's all that polycarbonate / carbon fiber mix. It does have a radius fretboard. It's very slight, but you can see it, which is really cool. The saddle is very much compensated. You can see that, so that it gives the C and E strings a little more space to vibrate. I've been listening to a lot of people that are replacing the G string with a low J, and that's kind of surprising to me because I would think that the compensated saddle would bring it out of tune a little bit, but it works, so I'm not going to ask any questions about that. The finish is a flat painted finish regardless of what color you buy. They're all painted. The overall length remains, just like the acoustic, 25.25 inches from tip to tail, but this one does weigh about 5 ounces more, and it is body heavy, so you feel it, because obviously you've got the electronics, and they're not going to add any more weight to the headstock. So compared to the acoustic version, which is really nicely balanced, this one is body heavy, and that makes sense. Open geared tuners by Enya. They don't actually say Enya on there, but that's what they are, gold, and that works out pretty well because they match the gold there and there. The action at the first fret is 0.5 millimeters, actually less than, and at the 12th fret is 2.5 millimeters. What's interesting, I've been seeing a number of people online that have been buying these. There's actually a group that was started for Enya Nova fans and people that are going to buy them. So that tells you that this instrument's kind of having a splash in the ukulele world. And there's been a number of people that have been posting about how they get these and then the action is too high. And I'm just completely confused by that because I have now seen 3 Novas, not to mention nearly 40 Enyas in whole that I've bought either for a school or used at a school or given away or owned myself. And every one of those has been set up impeccably with great action at the first fret and excellent action at the 12th fret. I haven't had to adjust a thing. Now, if someone wants things super low, I can see that. But I did hear of one person that said that action at the 12th was 4.5 millimeters. And I mean, that would be like doubly high. And I was like, what? And finally, I contacted that person on the group and I said, what is going on with that? And they said, oh, the saddle wasn't seated all the way. So I was like, oh, okay. So once they did that, I think they said the action was 2.8 millimeters, which is getting awfully close to acceptable. Some people still want it lower, fine. But just so you know, for the majority of players, this setup is going to work quite well for a long time. The nut width is pretty narrow. It's under 35 millimeter, and the spacing between the strings is pretty narrow. It's under 8 millimeters between each string at the first fret, almost 26 millimeters G to A. So that's really pretty tight, even for a soprano ukulele. But the difference, I think, becomes that radius fretboard and the very nicely done neck. It tapers, I don't know if you can say right, but it tapers comfortably. And then it's not very deep. I've been measuring the depth of the neck at the 3rd fret, and it's just over 20 millimeters there, which on the range of ukuleles is pretty narrow. Now when I cracked it open, there's bracing all along here. There is bracing built into the top. The top piece is all one piece, and then it's just the bottom, so it's a 2-piece construction that's glued together, painted, and so forth. If you buy one of these, it does come with a case. As a warning with the case, it does not have a backpack strap. It does not have any area for storage for even like a tuner. And sadly, the case that this one came in, I was in some cold weather when I was at the Michigan Music Conference, and I put it into the car. I think I was wearing gloves at the time. I ripped through the handle. So again, if you buy an outdoor ukulele, you're going to be paying nearly the price of what you get with the Acoustic Plus, but you don't get anything. With the Enya, you do get that case, and it's kind of a neat looking case, but realistically, you may want to upgrade your case down the road. And what they are finding is that this length of 25.5, a lot of concerts are 23 inches tip to tail, not counting like a strap button. This is like 2 inches longer. So you may want to invest in a case and find a case that fits for it. A gig bag, for example, not really a case, but a different gig bag that have a little padding and a little extra space on the top. And if I can make another suggestion to Enya, it would be that they offer a custom gig bag, maybe molded on their other excellent gig bags that come with some of their other instruments, such as that X1 series, or the KUC series that they make, or even the X1M that has the weird kind of cross zipper. They make great cases, so maybe they could consider selling a accessory that would be just for this. In fact, I might actually email them about that right after I'm done making this video. Also comes with extra strings. A lot of people don't like the Enya strings. I'm fine with them. They changed something since their original formulation. But if you don't like these and you like fluorocarbons, there are so many choices. You've got Worth, Living Water, Oasis, Martin, which are my standby, the Martin 600s. You have tons of choices. And if you don't like these, then you could go a couple other ways. But beware that beware for that fretwear. You don't want to cause fretwear with your choice of strings, and certainly no wound strings on this would be recommended ever. So you get your strap buttons, you get a strap. It's a little thick for me and a little short. I'd like it thinner and longer, but people have different opinions. I know some people like playing ukulele with guitar straps. The big one, not for me, but if it's for you, that's great. Comes with a capo. I personally would rather have a shub. It's nice that they throw it in though. And of course you get the charging cable for the electronics, and it charges up and turns green when you're ready to go. So it's a great package. You can see I still have the light on. I did notice that light will stay on and doesn't auto time out, so keep that in mind. But as an ukulele goes, for like a beginning player, you can get into the normal non-Acoustic Plus version of these for about $80. It's really quite wonderful. There are some other wonderful ukuleles. This is a good one. So would highly recommend it. And when it comes to actually giving this instrument a score, I'm just going to give it slightly under the acoustic version. I think the acoustic version is a home run. I think this is very, very close. But the wiring situation, some of the weird sounds I've had with the speaker so far, and then not having a delay, really, when so many of the other sort of trans-acoustic ukuleles that are out on the market and that are coming out on the market right now do have that. I just wish that they would add that. So if they could fix the case, if they could, address the case issue, if they could deal with sort of the loose wiring, and then maybe think about expanding that, even if they charge it a little more, I think it'd be a 5 out of 5. I think a 4.5 ukulele out of 5 is pretty darn good, though. So let's answer the big question. If you're going to buy one of these, do you buy the trans-acoustic version, or do you buy the acoustic version? And here's what I sort of think there. If you think that you're interested at all in the electronics here, if that piques your interest just a little bit, you think you're ever going to plug it in, it's $100 extra, over the price of the the acoustic, the non-Acoustic Plus version. You cannot buy an electronic system like this and put it into a ukulele. You certainly can't put it into this one, because it'd be awfully hard to cut it out in sort of a post-assembly point. But you couldn't buy that hardware and install it for $100. So it's a home run. If you are interested at all, then get that version. If you don't think you're ever going to plug it in and you're looking for something that can be a little more rugged, like for example, I would not really take that to the beach. If you're going to take it camping, you got to make sure you don't leave it out, right? Because again, you don't want the electronics to fry in the rain or something like that. These you can be a little more aggressive with. Again, they're still painted. They still can be scratched. They can break, especially if you drop them on the tailpin. But ultimately, they're very rugged. They're going to be more rugged than almost any wood ukulele. And the only ukulele that I can think of that'd be tougher would be an outdoor ukulele. And that's because that's designed for that. And that's really the closest competitor to this, but they're not the same and they're not in the same category. This is still going to carry all the other benefits that the AcousticPlus does, but it just doesn't have the electronics. So if that makes sense, if you think you're interested in the electronics ever at all, go for the AcousticPlus version. I hope that helps you as you look at these two really nice ukuleles, or really this one ukulele, this Enya Nova. Great design, great idea, great sort of realization of that idea. And again, readily available now from a company that's doing really, really neat things. Before I go, just want to remind you that the actual uke guide can be found at ukestuff.info or my normal website, which is ukestuff.info. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.